At our son's 5th birthday celebration, she snapped, leaning in with a venomous whisper. He's not even yours anyway. I froze, my gaze locked onto hers. The moment she saw my expression, her smirk faltered, replaced by a nervous, forced laugh. Just a joke, she stammered, punching my arm playfully. But weeks later, when my lawyer slid the DNA results across the table, her laughter died forever. The backyard was alive with the roar of the bounce house, a dragon of fabric and screams, filled with the wild joy of 5-year-olds. It was Leo's birthday, my son's birthday. I had spent the morning perfecting every detail, grilling hot dogs, arranging the tower of gifts, ensuring the day was flawless. Because that boy, he was my world. The way his face lit up, flushed with excitement as he raced around with his friends, nothing else mattered. Megan, meanwhile, held court by the patio table, wineglass in hand, surrounded by her friends. She hadn't lifted a finger all day, but she played the part of the gracious hostess effortlessly. To everyone else, we were the perfect family, successful husband, stunning wife, incredible kid, the big house in the right neighborhood. But for years, it had all felt like a performance, the love, the partnership. It had been replaced by her entitlement, my role reduced to nothing more than the man who footed the bill. Then in an instant, everything shattered. An hour into the party, I was carrying a tray of juice boxes to the kids' table when Leo, caught in a frenzy of sugar-fueled energy, crashed into me. The tray flew. Red fruit punch exploded across the front of Megan's pristine white sundress. Her friends gasped. She looked down at the stain, her face twisting into something ugly, something venomous. She glared at Leo, and just like that, he burst into tears. I dropped to my knees, pulling him into my arms. "It's okay, buddy. Just an accident." I looked up at Megan, expecting her to soften, to comfort our son. Instead, her eyes were ice. She stormed over, yanking me aside, her voice a razor-sharp hiss. "Look what he did. This dress cost $400. He's always been your clumsy little monster." I stared at her, stunned. "Megan, he's 5. It was an accident. It's his birthday." But she wasn't done. Something in her snapped, the party, the stain, my refusal to share her outrage. She leaned in closer, her voice dripping with cruelty. "He's not even yours anyway." The world stopped. The bounce house, the laughter, the music, it all faded into a distant hum. The only thing I heard was that sentence, echoing in the hollow silence of my mind. I didn't react. I just stared at her, my face a mask of nothingness. She saw it, the realization that this time she'd gone too far. Panic flickered across her face, replacing the anger. She backpedaled immediately, forcing out a high, brittle laugh. "Oh my God, relax. It was a joke. A stupid, dark joke. You're so serious all the time." She turned back to her friends, laughing too loudly, too falsely. "Eric's just so sensitive. Can't even take a joke." But I wasn't looking at her anymore. I was looking at Leo, tentatively playing with his new toy truck, his face still streaked with tears. My son. For 5 years, he had been my son, my reason for everything. In that moment, watching him, the love I felt was overwhelming, but beneath it, something cold and unyielding took root. A joke like that doesn't come from nowhere. It comes from a place of truth. I didn't say another word for the rest of the party. I smiled for the photos. I cut the cake. I helped Leo open his presents, but inside I was already gone. The man who had started that day, the happy father, the devoted husband, was replaced by someone else, someone methodical, someone focused. My marriage was over, my old life was over. The only thing that mattered now was protecting that little boy in the backyard and destroying the woman who had just used him as a weapon to hurt me. That night, after Megan was asleep, I sat in my office. The first thing I did was order a discreet, at-home DNA testing kit with rush delivery. The second was calling a man I knew from a business deal, a man who ran a high-end, very discreet private investigation firm. I need everything you can find on my wife, Megan, I said, my voice low, steady. I need to know who she was seeing 5.5 years ago. Everything. No budget. The third thing I did was call my lawyer. Not a divorce lawyer, a corporate litigation shark, the most ruthless I knew. I'm about to go to war, I told him, and I need to be prepared. Megan thought she'd made a joke. She had no idea she just signed her own surrender. Update 1. 2 weeks have passed since the birthday party. Living under the same roof as Megan has been like sharing a house with a ghost, one who believes everything is normal. She's been overly affectionate, clingy, pretending her joke never happened. She keeps bringing up vacations, redecorating, our future. I've been polite, distant, non-committal. To her, this is just another one of my moods. She has no idea that every smile, every nod, is a lie. That while she plays at normalcy, I am systematically dismantling her world behind her back. The DNA kit arrived 2 days after the party. Getting the samples was easier than I expected. A quick swab from my cheek, another from Leo's toothbrush that morning. I sealed the envelopes, sent them off, and then I waited. While I waited, the first reports from the private investigator started rolling in, and they were worse than I could have imagined. She never told me about the affair, never told me about David. She just let me believe the baby was mine. Leo wasn't a product of our love. He was her escape hatch from a bad decision. The report also included David's current whereabouts. Still a struggling artist, working part-time as a barista in another state, drowning in minor debts, driving a beat-up car. This was the man she had chosen over me, the biological father of the boy I had raised as my son. Then, yesterday, the email I had been both dreading and expecting arrived. It was from the DNA lab. I opened the attached PDF, my hand trembling just slightly. I already knew what it would say, but seeing it in black and white was like a knife to the chest. Probability of paternity, 0%. I sat there for a long time staring at that number. There was pain, betrayal. But beneath it all, something else was hardening. My resolve. This didn't change my love for Leo. It only changed my opinion of his mother, from a thoughtless wife to a monstrously selfish fraud. I forwarded the DNA report and the PI's file to my lawyer. His response was immediate. We have her, she's done. My first move was financial. I opened new accounts in my name only and began redirecting my salary, my investments, every cent into them. I left our joint account open, with just enough to cover the mortgage and utilities for a few weeks. I froze her supplementary credit cards, reporting them as lost. When she complained, I told her the replacements must be slow in the mail. I was cutting off her oxygen, one silent slice at a time. She still has no idea. Right now, she's probably upstairs, online shopping for shoes she can no longer afford. She thinks her only problem is a husband in a bad mood. She has no idea that a legal and financial hurricane is about to hit her head on. The quiet before the storm is almost over. Update 2. A month has passed since the party. The trap is set, and it's about to spring. My lawyer, a man who relishes this kind of strategic warfare, has been brilliant. After I cut off her finances, Megan's good mood began to unravel. She grew irritable, constantly complaining about being broke, about how unfair it was that her new credit cards hadn't arrived. She had no idea it was me blocking them. She even had the nerve to ask for a few thousand in cash for a girl's trip to Miami. I told her the market was down, that I needed to be careful with our cash flow. The look of disgust on her face was priceless. Then, the divorce papers were served. I made sure I was home when it happened. A process server, a big stoic guy, knocked on the door. Megan answered, thinking it was a delivery. When he handed her the envelope and said, "You've been served," the color drained from her face. She stormed into my office, waving the papers. "What is this? What the hell is this, Eric? You're divorcing me over a stupid joke?" I didn't even look up from my computer. This isn't about a joke, Megan. It's about a pattern of deceit, of disrespect. The joke was just the first loose thread. She exploded. How she'd given me the best years of her life. How she'd given me a son. How I was a cruel, heartless monster. She swore she'd take me for everything. The house, the cars, half my business. "You'll be paying for Leo and me for the rest of your life," she screamed. "You should talk to your lawyer," was all I said. And she did. She hired the most aggressive divorce attorney in the city, a woman known for tearing husbands apart in court. The first letter from her lawyer was a declaration of war. It demanded exclusive use of the house, temporary alimony that exceeded my monthly salary, and a child support payment so astronomical it was laughable. Her entire case rested on one pillar: our son, Leo. This was exactly what we'd been waiting for. We scheduled a four-way settlement meeting at my lawyer's office. Megan walked in like a conquering hero, smug, confident. She thought this was her victory lap. She sat across the table from me, refusing to make eye contact. Her lawyer began laying out their demands: the house, the vacation property, a new car for Megan every 3 years, private school tuition for Leo, college funds, child support payments that would ensure Leo never wanted for anything. It was a fantasy list, designed to intimidate. I sat there, listening patiently. When she finally finished, I nodded to my lawyer, Mr. Hansen. He cleared his throat and opened a thin folder in front of him. "Thank you for that presentation," he said, his voice calm, professional. "We have a counteroffer, but first, we need to address a fundamental inaccuracy in your filing." Megan's lawyer looked confused. "And what would that be?" "Your entire claim for child support, and indeed your client's claim to many of the marital assets, is predicated on the assumption that my client is the father of the child in question." Hansen slid a single piece of paper across the table: the official notarized DNA report. Megan's lawyer picked it up, read the first line, then the last. Probability of paternity, 0%. He put the paper down slowly, his face blank. Megan snatched it up. She stared at it, her smirk melting into horrified disbelief. "This is fake," she whispered. "This is a lie. You faked this." "It's a court-admissible, legally verified test," Hansen said calmly, "and we have a second independent test confirming the results. My client is not Leo's biological father." The room fell silent. Megan's laughter, her confidence, her entire world, gone. But we weren't done yet. Final update. This is the end. The final moves have been made. The game is over. After my lawyer revealed the DNA results in that conference room, the fight drained out of Megan. Her high-powered attorney, realizing he'd been lied to and that his entire case had just collapsed, looked at her with a mix of pity and disgust. The meeting was over, but the true devastation came with our settlement offer, which my lawyer presented to her attorney the next day. As I've said before, my goal was never to abandon Leo. He is my son in every way that matters. My goal was to protect him and to remove his toxic, deceitful mother from his life. We gave Megan 2 options. Option A, we go to court. We present the DNA evidence, which becomes public record. We present the PI's report, detailing her affair with David, the biological father. The court compels her to name him as the father, and he becomes legally responsible for child support. I sue her for fraud, seeking to recoup every dollar I spent raising a child I was led to believe was mine. She is publicly humiliated, exposed as a liar and a cheat. She walks away with almost nothing, and Leo's future is tied to a deadbeat barista in another state. Option B, she agrees to my terms. She signs over sole legal and physical custody of Leo to me, immediately and irrevocably. She relinquishes all parental rights in the divorce. She waives any claim to alimony, to my assets, to the house, my business, my investments. She takes her personal belongings and a one-time lump sum of $50,000, a parting gift to start her new life. In exchange, I don't sue her for fraud. I don't pursue David legally. I continue to raise Leo as my son, giving him the stable, prosperous life he deserves. Her lawyer, to his credit, advised her to take option B. It was a brutal choice: lose her son and her meal ticket, or face total ruin. For both her and the child. She tried to fight it for a week. There were tearful phone calls, angry emails, pathetic attempts at manipulation, but she had no leverage, no power, only bad choices. In the end, faced with the abyss, she signed the papers. The divorce was finalized last month. She took the $50,000. From what I've heard, she moved to another state to live with her sister. She has no contact with Leo. The court order is ironclad. For all legal purposes, she is a stranger to him. Leo is doing great. He's happy, resilient. He asked about his mom a few times at first. I told him a simple, age-appropriate version of the truth, that she had to go away for a while to figure some things out. He's adjusted well. He has me. He has his friends. He has a stable home. He has a father who loves him unconditionally. I never told him he isn't my biological son. Maybe one day, when he's older, I will. But for now, it doesn't matter. He is my son. My love for him was never dependent on a DNA test. The revenge was never about the money. It was about justice. Megan used a child, our child, as a pawn in her selfish games. She built her life on lies and was willing to wield a cruel, soul-destroying secret as a weapon. She thought her joke was just another way to assert her power over me. Instead, it became the key that unlocked her own destruction. She didn't just lose a husband and a comfortable life. She lost her son. Because in her arrogance, she forgot who he truly belonged to. The man who loved him, raised him, and was willing to go to war to protect him. Megan's life was a lie, a carefully constructed facade. She had a separate email account, a prepaid burner phone. The PI got into everything. 5.5 years ago, right around the time Leo was conceived, Megan wasn't just with me. She had rekindled a relationship with an old college boyfriend, a man named David. This wasn't a one-night stand. It was a full-blown affair, lasting for months. The PI's report was filled with copies of their emails, intimate, detailed. They talked about their future together, about how she was going to leave me, about how David was the love of her life. Then she found out she was pregnant. The tone of the emails shifted. She told David. His reaction wasn't what she'd hoped. He was a struggling artist, living in a tiny apartment with no money, no prospects. He panicked, told her he wasn't ready to be a father, that she was on her own. So she came back to me.